Welcome viewers to this yet another edition of Dynamic CIO Talk Show, where we invite technology leaders for a freewheeling conversation on some of the most contemporary trends and issues in the world of business and tech. Today's episode is related to one of the most talked about technologies and really no prizes for guessing. This is cloud with Amazon, Microsoft, IBM generating over 163 billion in 2021, approximately that amount in the cloud revenue. I'm referring to the Cloud Wars top 10. Will reach a combined total of about 240 plus billion in the revenue. These are a total of 9 companies, 9 cloud providers generating $240 billion in cloud revenue this year. 1 billion added to Snowflake, which was the new entrant in this club of top 10. The newly appointed CEO of Amazon, Andy Jassy, who was heading AWS until recently, said that in spite of the booming market for cloud services, the enterprise cloud accounts for less than 5% of the total global IT spending. Now you can understand the magnitude, the canvas that it has for expansion. The past year has greatly accelerated the move to customer-centric digital business, and the cloud is, without a question, the optimal foundation for this digital business. The companies that featured in the Cloud Wars top 10 are all planning to expand their technology offerings and solutions as rapidly as possible, keeping in mind the response to the new normal, the response to the extended new normal. As they expand the boundaries of the cloud to meet the growing demand, the overall IT market is slated to become much larger than it has been in the past. No doubt that cloud's ability to turn technologies such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, augmented reality into the mainstream business tools is unequivocal and will be a decisive factor in the expansion of this market. We have heard a lot of rise in demands for industry-specific solutions, which is triggering an accelerated wave of innovation that goes beyond the traditional enterprise applications as far as cloud. To talk about many of these issues, I have the pleasure of having with me Vaishali Kasture, who heads enterprise, mid-market, and global businesses, India and South Asia for AWS. She's a banking and financial services turned technology professional. She started her career in banking and financial services, moved to the KPO industry, and led global banking and capital markets and a credit bureau in subsequent roles. So I'm fortunate to have Vaishali on this show today. Welcome, Vaishali. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Rahul, for the introduction. I'm doing well, touch wood, and really excited to have this conversation on my, one of my favorite segments, which is certainly BFSI.
Absolutely. So we will get into the BFSI specific conversation a little into the conversation, but to begin with, I would like to ask certain generic questions and seek your opinion on those. So cloud war seems to be really hotting up. Most cloud service providers are busy establishing their availability zones, cloud regions, specifically in India. How do you assess the overall cloud adoption and perception from a user's point of view?
Yes. Thanks, Rahul. So yes, absolutely. I mean, we have seen, particularly over the last 24 months, there is definitely a huge change in the way all kinds of customers or all kinds of businesses look at us. I mean, we're all aware of, many of the startups are born in the cloud and they've adopted cloud. They were, born on the cloud, perhaps, great chance of being born on AWS as the cloud as well. But we've seen they continue to obviously accelerate, experiment, build. For them, it's about doing more and more. I mean, the basics of cloud are very clear to them. For them, it's more about taking advantages of being on someone who can add more value on the software side, machine learning, data lakes, containers. I mean, that's for them, it's more about extracting the full value of the cloud. Whereas when we see, say the SMB set of customers, for them, I'd say, I won't be lying if I say they are racing through the cloud. What the pandemic has done to the SMB business is their adoption has absolutely accelerated manyfold. And given that India is also the largest ecosystem of small and medium businesses in the world, bigger than any other country you can imagine, 75 million odd SMBs, for them, digital adoption has become a key to survival. It's not whether we should move to the cloud, is how do we do it and how quickly can we do it and what are the low hanging fruits which is going to allow us to survive, through the pandemic. Enterprises as well, I think up to 2 years ago, the conversations were about how do we build a plan, how do we do it. Whereas when I look at the conversations I have with enterprise customers today, it's how do we accelerate the traditional workloads that we have built on premises. How do we quickly move them? They don't have the patience to work through, really long-term plans. It's how do we do it quickly? And also for enterprises have begun to see the ability of startups to do things quickly in an agile manner, build new business models, create companies out of nowhere, and do so much, on the back of cloud. So enterprises are saying traditional workloads have to move faster, and all new ideas and all new experiments must be done on the cloud. And being digital is no longer an option, or being a cloud on the cloud is not an option. But anytime anyone comes up with a new idea, I think the CIOs and the CEOs are asking them, why not cloud, right? So I think there's been a dramatic shift, if I see, particularly in the last 18 months on this journey.
So three elements that you mentioned in your reply to my question. One was you started with the companies which are born in cloud and how optimally they exploit the power of cloud. Pardon my using this word called exploit, but yeah, they do exploit the power of cloud in the optimal way. Second, you talked about SMBs and how they are rushing to the cloud, given the current situation, and also given the fact that that can give them the elasticity that they need, the flexibility and the quickness that they need to have to acquire more customers, service more customers in a shorter period of time. Thirdly, you then spoke about the enterprises. Now, I mean, enterprises, the large ones, are, of course, they have the maximum technology debt. As we say, there are reservations in terms of adoption. I mean, the excuse could be any, but the reservations are very popular ones. For example, they would come up with an excuse called security is a big issue, compliance is a big issue, regulators don't allow us to go onto the cloud, and therefore, however, all said and done, the adoption of SaaS, the adoption of infrastructure, as you said, that the new experiments are all happening on the cloud, and also there's a traction now that heavy workloads are being lifted and shifted into the cloud. So, do you think that enterprises will also go the way as you spoke about the digital natives or born in the cloud companies at some point?
Yeah, I think there is definitely, I mean, every CEO level conversation that we are having, they are being very mindful and very deliberate about innovation. So I think although, traditionally you would see that, if you rewind a couple of years ago and talk to enterprises, they were still at a stage where they would say, what's the benefit of the cloud? I'm doing this for cost, but what about security? I think in the last 2, 3 years, enterprises in India have definitely accelerated based on our conversations. It's being driven by, and I think it's been accelerated a little bit, given the pandemic as well, and how we went into lockdowns, and people were forced to adopt technologies which will allow them to work from home. They didn't have an army of people to go to their data center to keep the lights on. And the third layer is the amount of innovation that we've seen coming on the back of the pandemic. I think enterprises are now asking themselves, one is definitely, I'm starting the conversation because of cost, and I need to exit my technical burden. What are the programs I can get to do this quicker and faster? But the engaging conversations are with the business, saying, if I want to experiment, I mean, when I talk to a customer who wants to get a bank which is getting into digital lending, or I can even quote Axis Bank, where we recently announced a very strategic multi-year engagement. They have a ton of ideas around, digital KYC and buy now, pay later. I mean, I love the way it was quoted, in an interview. They said that, the customer is my product manager. The customer decides what product I should build, and I build from there. And you can't do this experimentation, agility, pivoting, using new technologies to build a world-class product for a customer at short notice. So those are the conversations which are really driving, whether it's a bank, whether it's a manufacturing company who's talking about connected cloud and connected IoT and connected cars. There is a heavy amount of monetization that can be done from that data, not just for the internal use, but even from an external, customer facing perspective. And people are very quickly realizing that they need to innovate and, give a run for the money with fintechs and startups and manufacturing tech and agri-tech. They've got to be on the cloud. I think that realization is there. I'll touch briefly upon the regulatory point that you mentioned. I think we as AWS globally and also in India have the responsibility of working very closely with the regulators to explain our positions. And to explain the security of the cloud. There is security of the cloud, there is security in the cloud. So we work very closely with regulators all over. We don't want to put our customers in a compromising position. So we have all the necessary certifications, whether it is ISO certification, SOC certifications, PCI certifications. It is a very important part of our business to work on ensuring that if there is HIPAA compliance, anything that our customers will need, we proactively talk to regulators around the world and ensure that we start our journey and get those certifications, keep those certifications alive, so that our customers are not in a position where they have to explain to the regulators. And we've come a long way on that as well.
No, I completely agree with you. And, in my conversations, my, very intrinsic conversations with the CIOs from across sectors, whether it is manufacturing, healthcare, pharmaceutical, banking, and many others. I have not come across any CIO who has a regressive thought about adoption of cloud. If we talk of some top automotive companies, all the new experiments that they're doing in terms of deploying IoT or in terms of deploying sensors. I mean, same thing, IoT sensors, AI-based algorithms. Everyone is actually on the cloud. So there is no denying the fact that it is a very steady momentum towards it. However, it is still a very minuscule percentage of the total IT infrastructure. That's also a truth. So we'll have to, and it's a good news. Actually, it's a good news for all the cloud service providers, because it gives that much room for expansion, that much room for selling more. So let's move to a new dimension of this. I will be skipping a few questions because for this conversation, I feel they are a little irrelevant. So you mentioned about the Axis Bank deal, and it was quite talked about when both pre and post deal. There was a lot of right noises made about it, because ultimately a top Indian private bank was lifting and shifting all of its major applications, a big portfolio of its applications on the cloud, and coming from a regulated, compliance-oriented industry, it's actually a big deal. So, can we generalize this, that the financial sector is now quite bullish on the cloud because there are digital banks coming in? There is a pressure from that. There are open banks coming in. There's a pressure from those open banks. So what does this whole thing entail, and how will it pan out in the near, mid, and long-term future for the BFSI industry?
Absolutely, yes. So I think our conversation would be remiss without the mention of, Axis Bank. We recently announced a press release about a strategic relationship, and very pleased to hear their CEO also spoke at our recent summit in India. It is among the topmost third largest private sector bank, more than 200 million customers. And they're talking about, they've already, by the way, deployed over 25 mission critical workloads on AWS. And this is publicly quotable, which is why I'm saying this. Everything from digital deposits to digital loans, digital credit cards, buy now, pay later, account aggregator, video KYC, WhatsApp banking. You think of it, and Axis Bank already has either deployed or has a plan, to go aggressively on the cloud, and therefore AWS. They've also publicly said that they want to move over 70% of their on-premises infrastructure to the cloud. I think what it really means, and I'll just sort of also pause a bit and talk a little bit about, first of all, as the banking, financial services, NBFCs, all kinds of financial services on the enterprise side. I mean, fintech is already adopted cloud largely. But what this really means is that the conversations that we are having, you need, 2 or 3 top players to really start their journey, and it does create a ripple effect for the ecosystem. I mean, I can quote insurance, right? 7 of the top 10 insurance companies work with us on AWS cloud in India. And all you needed was 1 or 2 leading customers who would adopt, and then you would see, the rest of the customers very quickly taking the leap of faith and saying, okay, this works for us. I think similarly, I think Axis Bank's strategic relationship with us will definitely have a long-term impact, and also an immediate impact on acceleration. And I'm already seeing our conversations really pick up in the last, 6 to 12 months. The number of banks, NBFCs that we've spoken to has literally exponentially increased. And another important role that we have in India, I mean, obviously working with the banking financial services customers, but a large part of our role is to educate many of them. Because if you look at these large banks, unlike, say, the US, where they've been on the cloud for several years, I think in India, we need to have very basic conversations about cloud security, about data breach, about how does the cloud really work? What responsibilities does AWS have? What are our SLAs? What can they expect from us? What has it meant for other customers? So I think even before I can go to the adoption, we need to invest, and rightly so, a lot of our time and effort on explaining the constructs of the cloud, so that people start to experiment, they build confidence, they see progress. And I love to quote this example of one of the insurance companies who recently went all in on the cloud. Their CIO told me, Vaishali, this is the first time where year-end closing happened, 31st March, and I was not up all night managing my infrastructure. I went to sleep and I did not get a single missed call that we have a problem with infra. So I think people are beginning to see these use cases, not just on hygiene, but obviously, we have a lot of examples about how banks are adopting ML and data lake and AI and stuff like that to give better outcomes for our customers. So definitely, this is a path-breaking, leading, bank, which will hopefully pull others or nudge them to go down this path.
So if I may ask you, for example, when we speak to some large enterprise companies, and there was a talk that excuse me, that core applications may never go on to cloud, but we then started seeing the SAP S/4HANA instances going onto the cloud. I mean, what could be
Yes.
more core than SAP S/4HANA? Similarly, do you think that a bank would someday put its core banking on cloud? Is it something that you anticipate, or we are quite far away from that day?
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, if you looked at it 2.5, 3 years ago, most of these large conglomerates, enterprises, banks were experimenting with workloads which were on the periphery. It wasn't really core. But I think what I've seen in the last 12 to 18 months is there is a certain level of confidence built, and more importantly, an understanding of the cloud, both from a security perspective. And the second is that it's not just used as infrastructure. The value add will effectively come when you start using hundreds of our services. We have 200 plus services, and every day we introduce a minimum of 7 to 8 new features across services. So then you start realizing the power of, it's not just infrastructure. So the first stage is understanding, adopting, feeling comfortable, adopting the infrastructure. And the second part is the value add, where you start seeing how I can use all this plethora of 2000 odd services, 7 to 8 new services every day to give better outcomes for my customers. How it allows me to experiment quickly. I don't have to wait, months to order a server and then conduct experiments. How I can be agile and give customer outcomes very quickly, pivot if I need to, and most importantly, monetize and become more profitable. So there is absolutely terrific appetite, and people are realizing this, which is why the acceleration, in my mind, it starts for cost, but when the real acceleration happens, it's all about how do I innovate and how do I do better, for the customer. So I think I can very clearly see that happening. CEOs are telling me, Vaishali, don't just talk about repaying my technical debt. Tell me how I can launch new products. Can I launch a digital bank? Can I launch a digital lending platform? Can I quickly connect my factories through IoT? Can I monetize my data from the cars? They are excited about that possibly. They tell me, this moving my core workload ho jayega, don't worry. But so we have now both insurance companies and banks putting critical workloads like core banking, treasury, policy issuance, so on and so forth. We have several examples in India now, where core workloads are now moving to the cloud. And of course, SAP in manufacturing.
Yeah, exactly. No, well said. However, if I talk to you as a banker, I mean, as a professional in the banking industry before moving into the tech side, you think that a traditional bank or a traditional insurance company, a legacy-ridden BFSI organization would have probably a digital twin rather than having an all digital footprint? And how do you think those organizations transforming into a truly digital organization, digital banking?
Yeah, so good question. I think it would, I wouldn't say there is exactly one way that the transformation is happening. For some organizations which are still early stage, they say, we want to experiment. We are not very comfortable. We need to convince our board. I don't think our board will allow us to go all in. So the conversations with, some of the sort of NBFCs or emerging banks sometimes tend to be, we need to take it slow. But on the other hand, you have large banks like Axis taking a very aggressive stance on how do we want to do. So I wouldn't say it's one size fits all, but I think clearly the one theme which is coming out is we are not going to take this as a step function, which is to say let's first finish all our traditional sort of migrations, then we will look at innovation. I think there are multiple themes running in the organization. Some are driven by the CIO's office, and some are actually driven by the business. And the acceleration that I have personally seen is among the business conversations and the businesses trying to become, trying to extract more bang for the buck. The CIO's office wants to do it, but of course, they have a traditional way of approaching this. And obviously, if it is their job, they will tend to be a little conservative. But the breakthrough conversations, many of them are being driven by heads of businesses. If I look at a conglomerate with 20, 30 businesses, I'm surprised at the curiosity and the hunger of some of the business heads to transform their businesses and have more impact in the short run.
No, I agree. And picking up, one of your older statements where you said that it's all about the leap of faith, and one anchor organization can actually lead to a big revolution in that particular sector, and it happens like that. I mean, you take any sector, whether it is a media entertainment sector, or it is a pharma company, or it is a healthcare sector. One anchor organization then actually starts the whole momentum, and the others follow. So lastly, you again briefly mentioned that AWS, and I'm in awe of that organization. When twice I have heard Andy delivering the keynote in Vegas, and after every announcement, the electric atmosphere of that huge place, 40, 30, 50 announcements, and then you are talking about 7 new features added to the 200 odd and growing product portfolio. So it has one of the largest product portfolios, and both in terms of depth and the width, and covers almost the entire gamut of what you require to run an organization. So how is AWS capable of helping companies across sectors, including the BFSI, in elevating their whole digital game and digital transformation?
Right. So I think, like I said, the first thing we always help companies to do is help them understand that if you need to transform the organization, it is not technology which will come in the way, but it is culture. So the first thing that we always recommend is that we work with you and explain to you how the culture of innovation really works like, and try and get as many people top down in the organization really involved in the journey to cloud. It is not a CIO decision who sits on the side and says, okay, I am going to pay off my technical debt in this manner and move to the cloud. We need to carry the organization with you. And most importantly, for any innovation, whether it's journey to the cloud or anything to be successful, it has to come top down. You need senior management sponsorship. It has to be a CEO and a board level agenda. So we try and work with all our customers and potential customers to take a very heavy top-down agenda, set very aggressive goals. For example, RBL, we help them to do like a 40 by 40 apps to be migrated, in 40 days. They were a little short, but it happened because top down, there was the vision that we would make it happen. The second piece that we try and work with our customers is around training and certification. And I think when people cannot apply what they don't know. So we have massive training programs, training teams. We've taken a target globally of training 29 million odd people on the cloud. Similarly, we have very significant targets in India. We want to work. Training leads to engagement leads to understanding, and when someone understands how it works, then they want to experiment, and then they raise their hands that I want to take this workload, or I want to build something new on the cloud. So top down sponsorship, training and engagement, taking aggressive goals, we help organizations to lay that down. And then of course we have several programs for enterprise customers, like we have data driven enterprise. How do you understand building an enterprise on the back of data? We have MAP programs, which is migration acceleration programs. How can we help you? We have a ProServe team, which is a consulting team, which is in-house. We have thousands of partners around the world who are trained and certified to help our customers. So our messaging to our customers is that it is not something that you will sit and do on your own, but you will do this in partnership with AWS, because we are customer obsessed. We've got your back and we won't let you fail. So allow us to be your partners in your journey, and we'll stand with you and tell you how to do it. And most importantly, over a period of time, we want you to depend on us less. You should, in 12 to 18 months, have a team like a Cloud Center of Excellence, trained set of people, so that you're on your journey, independent of AWS. You can do even more as you go on that path.
Yes, so very true. Last statement. The most progressive organizations are now, working on the culture to transform culture, to adopt cloud, because it requires a lot of effort to let go of the control from your hands and democratize the IT infrastructure so that you can focus on core business. And core business of users is not technology, managing technology, it's managing business. So excellent conversation, Vaishali. Thank you so much for your candid views, and thank you so much for enlightening all our listeners.